Hey everybody, welcome back. Doc May Diet Podcast, episode number 6. Common question I get this time of year are, Doc May, what are some ways I can lose some weight here? Summer's approaching. I want to shed some pounds. Okay, so that's the topic of tonight's podcast. Top 5 tips for losing weight. Okay, so let's get right into it. Tip number 1, simple as going for walks consistently. So what I recommend is going for a walk in the morning, going for a walk in the afternoon. Simple, easy, yet effective. Not going to shred the fat off super fast, but done over the long term really adds up, really makes a difference. So what I recommend is doing about half an hour in the morning and then about half an hour to 45 minutes later on at night. 10,000 steps is actually a pretty good goal to shoot for daily. If you could reach that, that'd be great. You might have to do a little more if you want to be a little more aggressive with it, but 10,000 steps is a good baseline. Now, this can either be done on a treadmill or outside. The benefits of doing it outside are that you actually get the sunlight, and that helps increase melatonin levels. What will that do for us? It'll allow us to sleep better and also reduce stress. What does it have to do with losing weight? Well, it's going to be pretty hard to lose weight if you're stressed out and not sleeping. So getting that sunlight, and especially in the morning, really helps reset our circadian rhythm. It can really allow us to get better sleep at night and feel less stress. Now, doing it on a treadmill has benefits too, because that's more of a controlled environment. It allows you to set the speed, set the incline. What I recommend is choosing a speed for you that's right, where you feel like you're getting a good workout, but if somebody were walking next to you, you could still be able to carry on a conversation with them. In addition to that, the incline, I like between 8 and 12. Personally, what I use is 10% at 3 miles per hour for about half an hour. Now, again, these methods are not going to shred the fat off super fast for trying to, get in a bikini body in 2 weeks. But if you do it over the long term, it'll really add up and get you some good results. And again, it's simple, it's easy, it's free. Why not, right? Okay. Tip number 2 for losing weight is simple, but definitely not easy. Tip number 2 is fasting. So I went into fasting in detail in episode 4. So if you're not sure what it is, or if it's right for you, listen to that podcast or DM me if you have any questions. I really like to use fasting when I'm trying to lose some weight and lose some fat. What I do is I intermittent fast throughout the week, and then every now and then, about once or twice a month, I'll throw in a 24 to 36 hour extended fast, if for nothing else than to just reduce calories. But fasting has a lot of other benefits, so I'm not just doing it for weight loss. Now, if you think that you're never going to do any kind of fasting, even intermittent fasting is too much for you, that's okay. I would still recommend combining tip number 1 and tip number 2 and doing a fasted walk in the morning. If you do that walk fasted, it's really going to help tap into those fat stores and burn more fat than if you do it in a non-fasted state. Now, I don't recommend fasted cardio if you're going to go for a run or jog or do a high intensity workout, because at that point you're going to be burning through more muscle than you are fat, and nobody wants that. So I recommend just doing a nice, easy, fasted walk in the morning. You could eat right afterwards if you want to, okay? But try and get that first session, that first walking session fasted. That'll make a difference. That'll help boost your efforts even further, okay? So like I said, even if you do nothing else, doing that fasted walk in the morning will help. Tip number 3, again, I said it before, and I know nobody wants to hear it, but tip number 3 is tracking your calories. You can't lose weight unless you're in a caloric deficit over the long haul. Now, you can't be in a caloric deficit all year round. That's why sometimes you need to be at maintenance level. Sometimes you even need to eat more and increase activity more to correspond with it, and then tamper back down, okay? But over and over again, the research has shown the number 1 most important outcome for a dietary success for losing weight is tracking your calories. How can you know you're in a caloric deficit if you're not tracking your calories? Well, the answer is you can't, unless you're a high-level athlete, training year-round, have people monitoring your diet. Most people aren't that in tune with their body to know if they're in a caloric deficit, okay? Obviously, you can look at your clothes, check the scale, but unless you're tracking, you really don't know. My recommendations are to take your body weight, multiply it by 10, use that as the first amount of calories you should be aiming for at the beginning. So for example, if somebody weighs 150 pounds, 150 times 10 is 1,500. that person should be aiming to eat 1,500 calories a day. Sometimes, as you get used to it and the body adapts, you might need to go a little bit lower, go down to 9, go down to 8. I wouldn't recommend going below 8, but sometimes you got to go to 7. What I recommend is just increasing the amount of calories you're burning. So calories in is less than calories out. So therefore, we're in a caloric deficit and losing weight. Okay. Once you're doing it for a while, it takes about 14 minutes a day. So download the MyFitnessPal app, start tracking your calories, see where you're at, take your body weight, multiply it by 10, start eating that amount of calories. If that's still not helping, go a little bit lower or increase your exercise. Okay. So tip number 4, lifting weights. Lifting weights, strength training is the single most effective exercise we can do to lose weight. Now, I know not everybody cares about having muscles and being strong, lifting 1,000 pounds. It's not about that. Because the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn at rest. So everybody knowing that should now want to aim to build some muscle so they can help boost their fat loss efforts. And even as we get older, it's even more important to have muscle mass so we help stop the breakdown of arthritis, osteopenia, and bone fractures. Now, tip number 5, another form of exercise that I recommend is called high intensity interval training. What is that? Well, HIIT is the abbreviation. HIIT is a different form of cardio that consists of high intensity intervals, meaning you go as hard as you can for about 7 to 10, maybe 15 seconds, and then you rest for about 30, 45, sometimes up to a minute, and then you repeat that 7 to 10 times. So all in all, you're done in about 10, 15 minutes. So I love HIIT. It's been shown to actually build muscle and break down fat at the same time, as opposed to traditional cardio, which will pretty much burn both muscle and fat. And again, we want to hold on to as much muscle as we can because it's been shown to burn fat and burn calories at rest. The more muscle you have, the higher your metabolic rate, essentially. Okay, some other good reasons for doing HIIT is that it's just more time efficient. Instead of spending an hour every day going for a run, why don't you just do 10 minutes of high intensity interval training, get more benefits the rest of the day, and be done with it. It's also more fun and more rewarding. There's many different ways to do it. You could do sprints, which I don't necessarily recommend at the beginning because it's a highly athletic activity and therefore a high chance of injury, pulling a hamstring, pulling a quad, pulling a muscle, a calf muscle, a glute muscle. You want to warm your way up to sprints. I wouldn't recommend getting to those right away, but it doesn't have to be sprints. It could be battle ropes. It could be a spin bike. It could be an assault bike. It could be going for swimming laps in the pool. It could be jumping rope, doing loaded carries, farmer carries, or some good old fashioned push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and pull-ups. Okay, just structure the workout in a way that has you doing these high intensity interval trainings with the rests of about 10 to 15 seconds. Repeat it about 10 times. Okay. In addition to being more time efficient, more rewarding, like I mentioned, it also has been shown to build more muscle, burn more fat, increase insulin sensitivity, and overall, we're starting to think that it might be a more effective form of cardiovascular exercise than the traditional steady state cardio, which involves you running for about 45 to 60 minutes at a time. Okay, so that's it. In review, tip number 1 for losing weight, walking. Tip number 2, fasting. Tip number 3, tracking those calories. Tip number 4, lifting, working out. And tip number 5, HIIT workouts. All right, so that's it. A little bit short of a podcast tonight. Thanks for listening. Doc May Diet, episode number 6. I will see you guys next week. Have a good one.